You know, when I travel throughout the state, I encounter, oh my goodness, every type of church you can think about. And invariably, because Kentucky is primarily rural, I encounter a lot of small churches. And when I talk to the pastor, I talk to the people that are in charge of the children, I hear the same thing. And they always say, oh, we're a small church. We don't have the resources. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do this. And there's an element of discouragement. Well, I traveled through, has anybody ever heard of Hazel, Kentucky? Oh, good. Some people know. I'd never heard of Hazel, Kentucky. I drove to Hazel, Kentucky. I met a guy named Bruce Callahan and his wife, Josie. And they were in a small church. And I sat down with Bruce and started talking. And Bruce started to tell me his story. And Bruce said, oh my goodness, you guys, when we started about 3 years ago in our church, I think he said there were 5 kids in our children's ministry, and 3 of them were mine, you know. There were just 2 kids. You guys, 3 years later, they averaged 50 kids in their children's ministry. But the amazing thing is, and we're going to let Bruce and Josie talk in just a minute, is I want you to hear how they did it, because it debunks every small church myth that you can think of, that small churches can't make an impact. They can't do it. We don't have the things that are, it's all debunked right here. So I wanted you guys to meet Bruce and Josie Callahan. And Bruce, tell us your story. Tell us your story.
All right, we came to the church just like he said. We had 5 kids. The first Wednesday night, there should be a picture of our church. That's what our church looks like. And we run around 125, 150 in worship. And what happened was we started going out to get the kids. We started going door to door in our church. We would get people to come out on a weeknight, and we went out and knocked on doors. And I'm going to let Josie tell a little bit more, but let me introduce, if you'll do another slide. That's what our church looks like inside. So that's pretty much what most of your churches look like. We're just an average 100-member church, and the membership when we came was 65% 55 and older. So there were not a lot of children, and they hadn't seen a lot of children in a long time. The church was really strong in the 50s, 300 people active back in the 50s. This is our first month. This is the children that we had the first couple of weeks. We played a game where they had to go dress up, and they were in teams, and they had to put costumes on, and they loved that. And that was when we were first starting out. But that was in April. In July, we took a group of kids to camp to a state park that our church paid for on its own. We took 33 children by July we had built up. That's the youth that went, the adults, and all the children that went to that camp in July. That's how much God grew our children's ministry from April to July. And this is all a God thing. It wasn't anything that we particularly did, other than we worked hard and we tried to reach the people. And the next picture, that's our family. Those are our 3 children. I just wanted you all to see them because we're proud of our kids. So
Sure.
Josie has the next.
Now, Josie, okay. So Bruce, I think I've got it. All you have to do is have a building and put a sign up, right? And it happens, right?
Not
Go ahead,
quite.
Go ahead, Josie.
We started with lots and lots of prayer. And then from there, we still pray today all the time. But we started with the adults in our church. All adults, no children. The neighbor kid down the street that, leaves their bike at the edge of their yard. The kids in the community that would walk by and wonder what was going on, because their first couple of months, we put a big sign out every Wednesday night and balloons with helium balloons out. And so the kids would see their parents would be bringing them home from school or from activities, and they'd drive by and you could see them do their neck. And so then they'd come back by either walking or on their bikes, and we'd hand them a permission slip and say, go ask your mom if you can eat pizza with us, and then we'll stay for church too. And so a lot of kids just right there in our community would take that permission slip home and come right back within 15 minutes and stay for pizza. And that's how you always get them in, is the pizza. They love free pizza or tacos. So then our church members were inviting their grandkids, their nieces, their nephews, kids in their family, neighbors. They would bring them. We started a van route with the kids in the neighborhood because eventually it got dark earlier and we didn't want them to have to walk home in the dark. And then we also did community outreach. At the time that we started our church, that first fall, we had was it fall? I think it was fall or spring, they had a revival, and they did it outdoors. They had a tent revival. So we're on a main highway, 641, that runs from Kentucky into Tennessee. And so everyone drives by and is curious, what is Hazel Baptist doing? So you're out in the community, you're being seen. Then in the fall, we did bouncers. We rented 3 of those big bouncers that all kids love to hoorah in. And we had them for Hazel Day. That's our small community big day where everybody comes out and they're singing and there's vendors, but ours were free. We didn't charge. And we had like a free bowl of candy that if you guessed how many pieces were in it and filled out your name and your address and your telephone number, then if you won, we could contact you and give you your candy. But we had their addresses. So every time we had an event coming up, we send out a flyer with everything that was going on for Christmas activities. We sent out a flyer for summers, and we still have that, and we've built on our addresses. And that really brings them in. And then our community. We don't have to stay in our church. The schools in our community serve the kids lunch for free. Not the schools, the government serves them for free when school is out. They feed the kids. And they needed helpers serving. We said, we don't mind helping as long as we can pass out stuff. So at our community center there in Hazel is where they were choosing to feed the kids, so it was close and kids could walk if parents were at work. And so our women took a couple of weeks that summer, and we did the food and served, and then Bruce and I would do the games, and we did that 2 or 3 summers in a row. And of course we got names then, and we built relationships with the parents because some parents did bring them in and we could sit and talk to them, and they saw that we remembered their kids' names from 1 or 2 weeks, and then we'd see them in the community. So we've just done, we also do you want to say? Okay.
I know we're running short on time, but the main thing that we've done in our church is relationships. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work, but in 3.5 years, you have to have relationships with the kids. You have to get to know them. When they say, can you come to my dance recital? Can you come to my basketball game? You go, be there. If they invite you to that birthday party, show up with your 3 kids and be there for them. And that makes you meet the parents and interact with the family. In your church, get to know your people. Find out the gifts that they have. Can they do crafts? Can they the older ladies love to bring the food. They might not want to teach, but they'll bring food and feed those kids. We started out, the kids started coming and they were hungry and they didn't have any food at home. We have our ministry is about 50% church kids and 50% kids that their families don't come to church. And so you have to meet those families where they're at. No matter what sin is going on in their life, you still have to love them and try to reach them and bring them into the church. It doesn't mean that they have to work with the kids, but you still have to reach out to them and show them that you love them and that you love their kids. And the church, when they catch that and they see 5 and 6 kids getting baptized a year and 25 children going down to children's church, and they've never seen that before. This is a church that had 70%, 65% older people. And they catch that and they start praying, God, what can I do for children's ministry? We've had playground equipment donated, $3,000 worth of playground equipment that people gave. People donating food. We had a gentleman that gave $2,500 for a food program for Wednesday nights so that our food is taken care of for 2 or 3 years now. The children that are hungry can come and eat and don't have to, we don't have to worry about that ministry. And there's just so many things that people in our church, You have to have that relationship with the kids, the people of the church, and the parents. And when they call and say, Brother Bruce, Joey's sick and I don't have medicine, you go, you take the medicine to them. You take it out of your own pocket if you have to, and you minister to that family. And when you have that connection, then it doesn't stop. And as you gradually work with them, they don't have food 2 or 3 times, and you've brought them food 2 or 3 times, and you open that door to witness to them. There are so many stories we don't have time to tell you. The families that our church has reached, not just us, but the older people of the church will get into their lives and start helping them babysit and start doing the things, and it's just amazing the things that God has done in 3.5 years in our church, and I could go on for 2 hours.
And Bruce, let me clarify. It's not about just sitting safely and secure in the walls of your church, is it not? When I've met Bruce and Josie, they said, we go out and we see kids in the neighborhood and we give them flyers and we talk to them. We connect with parents. We're constantly, ready for this, not in our church, because that's where the people are. And you combine that with love, passion, relationships, and you have something amazing. Anyway, but Bruce, real quick, we're going to have to end in just a second. If you had just a piece of advice to give us, what would you say?
Relationships. Build relationships with your church, your children, and the families from the kids. And
Sure.
Make sure that God is first in everything. And just try to find people in your church that when those families do decide to come, like Miss Cindy's right here on the front row. She's one of our workers. She loves the parents. She'll go up to them and she'll talk to them after church, and she'll get to know them, and she'll send them little notes. And she's the kind of person that, oh, hey, can we go have lunch in a couple of weeks, blah, blah, and that's the kind of thing you have to have going. You have to, the church, don't rely on just yourself, and pray that God He's provided all the workers, all the money, all the things that we've needed. You have to put Him first and seek what He wants.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, in a town that said it couldn't be done, in a church that said it couldn't be done, Bruce and Josie Callahan have done it. Thank you, guys.
With God.
Thank you.